What's going on, America? This is Kevin from Kevin's Corner. And finally, a cause worth marching, protesting for, standing up for. Since President Trump's nomination and actually his announcement to run, you've been seeing people who have been protesting, resisting the president, feeling like the country has been plagued with so much racism and division that they start going after stuff that probably, if Hillary would have got elected, would have never targeted and blown up to make it seem like it was a big deal. And I would see them start to develop protests over certain stuff, and I'm like, what are y'all doing? This is an unnecessary protest. I mean, you had people going down to all these different small remote locations where nobody even knew that certain statues even existed of a president that died 200 years ago, and just because they were a president under slavery or something like that, then all of a sudden, for some reason, that statue was one of the causes of today's racism and division. So people took their Saturdays off and they were going all over the place, and they were tying ropes around statues and dragging them down to the ground like they were hustling Mustangs in the wild or something. And I would watch this and I say, oh, they have no idea what they're doing. They're going to protest and nothing's going to become of it. Once the statue falls down, people go on, no racism is solved, none of your problems are solved. You just feel good about that for about 15 minutes, and then things go back to normal. Then you have the NFL who's saying, you know what, we're going to protest by taking a knee, some of the guys in the NFL, and over this racism and police brutality. And I said, okay, if a situation comes up and you see it's obviously a wrongful shooting and nothing gets done, then okay, wait till the facts come in, but don't protest the flag or the national anthem. Go after the particular person or the police station or area that took place in, and challenge the people in authority and ask some questions. Why didn't something get done to this person? Vocalize your feelings or your opinion, but don't ruin our Sundays by taking a knee, ruin our football by protesting and bringing politics in it. Do it on your own time. So I had a problem with that. Then you have people that after the gun shooting at the high school in Florida, all the kids, of course, rounded up by CNN and some of the other liberal places, they staged a anti-gun protest, and nothing provided solutions, okay? Granted, that was a horrible situation. A lot of young people got killed. And I'm thinking to myself, it is crazy how that all of the Democrats, all of the liberal media, and many of the left-wing people out there will protest over situations about racism, about gun violence, about mass shootings, but yet when it comes down to problems in their own district that has nothing to do with white or black, but it has something to do with their leadership. It has something to do with them absolutely dedicating enough time and interest in addressing a serious problem that takes more lives and demonstrates more violence than a random gun shooting that takes place every once in a while, because it really shows the hypocrisy of the Democrats and of the liberal media. If you get over the top after a gun shooting, you run that on TV for about 6 or 7 weeks, you go out, you march, you accuse the Republicans of being responsible, you accuse the president of being responsible, you accuse the NRA for being responsible, but yet in Chicago, 1,700 people shot, and you don't accuse the mayor of doing something, you don't accuse any of the leadership in Chicago about this, you don't accuse anything, you don't go in and say, the gun violence here in Chicago is killing people every week, and it's way more than 17 people. Over the weekend, I think it was like 71 or 72 people shot in Chicago over the weekend. Do you understand how many people that is to be shot over the weekend? I mean, one mass shooting took, I think, 17 lives, and yet over the weekend, 72 people were shot. And I've been watching some clips about this on TV, and I think it was I forget what the lady's name is. She has a little news show online, And she starts showing some of the faces and the victims of the people, and almost all of these people were black. No outcry, nobody, none of the Democrats on TV, with the exception of this one black man who came on Fox. He was a Democrat, and he said something that was profound. He said, I want President Trump to know that Chicago isn't a Trump-free zone. We want the president's help. About time. Sometimes you got to hit rock bottom before you humble yourself and say, let's put racism aside, let's put policies aside, let's put political division aside, let's put some lives first. So if black lives really matter, it doesn't matter whether you Democrat or Republican. It doesn't matter if any of those things. And for those that act like black lives matter and don't go out and protest with the protesters in Chicago last weekend, then they don't really matter to you. You got a democratically ran city, okay? And this has been going on. This didn't just fall out the tree. I mean, this didn't fall out of nowhere. All of a sudden, violence just breaks out in Chicago out of nowhere. This has been going on for a long time, and nothing's been done. And when President Trump got in office and was like, you know what, what's going on in Chicago? Let's fix it. They said, we don't want your help. They said, you know what? You want to send the National Guard in? It's because you're racist and you want to, just police the black people and Cajun men like animals and stuff. And I understand that from just a visual standpoint, if that's not done wisely, it could look like, okay, well, what about the innocent people there that might feel like they're being policed as well? So the National Guard would have to be used very carefully. But I think it's at the point now where I'd rather be safe than to feel like, well, the National Guard is here policing me. Remember, people who don't break the law don't fear police. I mean, I've been pulled over many times. Now, granted, I don't feel comfortable when I get pulled over for just the fact that I don't want a ticket, or I don't know what mood this cop might be in that day. But nonetheless, my first go-to isn't, oh my God, I got some weed on me, I might have to jump out the car and run. Or I got a couple of DUIs or my license is suspended. None of that stuff. Normally, if you get pulled over and everything's in order, you're going, man, I'm probably going to get a ticket or whatever. And sometimes things go wrong, and those are the cases that we have reason to say, yeah, we need to talk about that. But on an average, most of the time you get a ticket, you probably deserve the ticket. Even though you want to whine about it sometimes and say it was racist. And if you get down to the nitty gritty, if you're doing 75 and a 65 and you get a ticket, it doesn't have, you broke the law. So you get to the situation where the black people and many whites have come out and they were marching over the weekend in Chicago. Now, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, where are all the Democrats? I want them out there marching with these people. I want them saying, you know what? Yes, the mayor of the city has failed his people, allowing this to take place week after week. But I also want the president, if you're listening, this is an opportunity to reach out. They brought the young man, I think it's LaShawn somebody, they brought him on Fox, and he was talking about how, look, man, we want the president's help. We need him to come and do something about this. President, if you're listening, this is an opportunity, all right? Not just for political points or whatever. It's an opportunity to do what you said you wanted to do, and that is help the black community solve some of these problems in the black community when it comes down to the violence and things like that. Because let's be real, nothing's being done right now. I mean, I know the police probably are completely overwhelmed, don't have the resources, and the mayor, I think they said he shut down. These were black people on TV talking about him. Some of the things that were making his arguments is, one, he cares more about illegal immigrants than his own constituencies, his own black community. He cares more about them. He cares more about pushing a political agenda, like let's have a sanctuary city, for illegal immigrants to feel safe at home, and yet all these black people living in the neighborhood don't feel safe at home. When you sit back and talk about all the mothers that have their sons and daughters ripped from them, but yet over the weekend, 70-something people, 72, some people got shot. How many of those parents had their kids ripped from them? And these weren't people who were targeted. Most of these people that were getting shot was getting shot by stray bullets. You should have saw the scene outside the hospital. People screaming. I mean, it was ridiculous. And I'm thinking to myself, for you to get on TV and start whining about climate control, You know, when you start getting on TV and start talking about some illegal immigrants way down at the border, nowhere near Chicago, you know, all of this stuff, but yet ain't getting on TV crying with these mothers and these fathers and these children, all of that stuff in your own city, you need to go. And the people in Chicago protested over the weekend to tell this guy he needs to go. And I was loving it because there were some black people getting on there and they wasn't on the whole race narrative. One dude was like, man, we need the National Guard to come in here and do this. This is a national emergency. And the one guy who went on Fox, LaShawn, he was like, look, man, this ain't a Trump-free zone. We need the president's help. And he was like, I'm a Democrat. You know, I don't know if he's a politician or not, but he's like, I'm a Democrat. We need the president to come in here and help with this. And so I echo this. This is a situation. See, this is a perfect example of a legitimate reason to protest, a legitimate reason to say, yeah, we need to address this issue. It's worth speaking out against, but not statues, not all of these things that people act like are the source of all of our problems, you know, that the liberals run around and say, yeah, let's find stuff to be mad about, but overlook the real big problems. So 70-something people shot in Chicago. It's a tragedy. It's a mess. Black people have finally started to say, you know what? I don't care if the president's white, black, Puerto Rican, whomever, for Chicago's leadership to say, we don't want the president coming in here because he's a racist and we don't want him to come in here. We can solve it ourselves. Well, go ahead with your bad self. But apparently the people in Chicago are starting to realize that you guys are more worried about politics than you are their safety. And it's going to be a resistance in Chicago if y'all keep letting it happen. So POTUS, if you're listening, okay, I don't think since I've been doing videos, sent a direct message to the president. Yeah, I think I did one time. But president, if you ever get hold of this video, take my word on this one, all right? You need to get involved with this, okay? Because this is a problem. And the people in Chicago are humbled enough and ripe. See, you don't pick a piece of fruit until it's ripe for the picking. And you kind of got to sense it like, okay, this fruit done been through enough to where it's nice and soft and tender and can be picked. And right now, because of the violence and the ignoring of the violence, the people in Chicago are ripe for the pickings, meaning they will be receptive of the president extending help, long as it's not interfered with by the dirty Dems and the liberal media. He's coming down there with extreme tactics. He's saying that, you know, all of that stuff. They need to shut their mouths at this point and let the president do his job. So that's just my take on it. President, if you're listening, stop what you're doing, because I'm about to ruin the image and the style that you're used to. Stop what you're doing. I know you're out campaigning, and don't stop that. But at least address this and send somebody down there to deal with the problem, you know. All right. God bless you. It's Kevin in Kevin's Corner. You know, I'm all about jokes and fun time, but this is a serious situation here. I mean, I think it's like 1,700 people shot since the beginning of the year, and I'm going, that's crazy. Absolutely crazy. What is going on there? Anyway, find me on Facebook, Twitter. I'm going to be talking about this tomorrow at 7:30 on my radio blog talk show. And also, find me on, I think I said Twitter already. Anyway, if you want to donate to Kevin's Corner, there's links in the bottom to do so, and we'll see you next time in Kevin's Corner. God bless.